Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. Happy Sunday and a belated happy Valentine's Day to you all. I hope you had the most wonderful week and weekend. I would love to hear about it. If you did anything, just chilled. I just want to know. And if you don't want to tell me, I guess that's fine. Keep your secrets. But I do love it when you share with me. Oh my gosh, who do we got? Hi, Arctic, welcome in. Hi, Vader, welcome in. And thank you both for the check in. And hello to anyone else that's here that maybe just hasn't made themselves known yet. What's going on? Let me tell you about the time that I've had. So, the last time I was here, it was Wednesday. And then Thursday, I took. Oh, quick backstory, my first week of work has been great. I'm working from home and I'm going to keep working from home until all my stuff gets processed and I can officially get to site. But for now, I'm working from home. So Thursday, I did more training at home and I went to 2 pole classes in the evening, which were wonderful. I felt really, really good. Normally, we don't wear our heels in the tricks class, but the instructor that day was like, hey, put your heels on, like we're gonna practice with them. And they're kind of like ankle weights, so it was kind of cool feeling the difference, in the added weight from doing the tricks. So that was nice. And then I had a flow class after, which was also really, really fun. Friday, I went out to the honky tonk for my friend's bachelorette party, and it was fun. But I don't you hate when you're like when people ask you for a recommendation and you give it to them and then that place absolutely lets you down? That's what happened on Friday. Do I think she had a good time? Yes. But the music was not slapping. So normally how it goes when we go is they play country songs, right? Cuz it's a country bar. And then they'll play like some line dancing. Hey, Europe, welcome in. Thank you for the check in. I'm just talking about the bachelorette party I went to on Friday. Thank you so much for joining. Who is this yellow ray of sunshine? Hello, Jar Jar Claps. Every time I see your name, I have to laugh. Welcome in. How are ya? The worst honky tonking? No, dude. So we went to the honky tonk and they usually play country music, right? Then they do like line dancing, like country music and line dancing, and then they play the club hits, right? So I don't know if you guys have been to a country bar before, but a dance hall, like when they advertise themselves as like a country place where you dance, it's usually a lot of partner dancing, like two-stepping. Can I assume Shabuzi was played? Actually, they did not play that song, and I was genuinely surprised. Not that I'm a fan of that song, but I thought they would have because it's a popular line dance. So we didn't have any men with us. So like if we went out to dance, like obviously one girl's got to be the lead, the other one's got to be the follow, whatever, whatever. But most of my friends haven't done that before, so hi Bea, welcome in. So they were a little nervous about it, but we took the lesson. It was fine. Some of us went out there, and then they played some line dances. And I always say like, if you're comfortable, get out there and just try to pick it up. So some of them did, some of them didn't, and then we were all waiting for the club hit so we could go out there and shake it and drop it low. But let me tell you guys, the songs they were playing were not slapping. They didn't play no "Back That Ass Up" by Juvenile. They didn't play no "Hey Ladies" by whoever that's by. They didn't play no "Low" by T-Pain. Like they did not play any of the bangers that you want to hear. And then to make it worse, normally during the club hits, right? People dance the dance, but this time people were line dancing during the club hits, which is fine, but they're not songs that you line dance to. And the army of line dancers just kept getting bigger and bigger. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for a line dance. I love a line dance. We all know it. We've heard me talk about it, but not during the club hits. And also, they weren't changing the line dance that they were doing. They were just doing the same one line dance for like 5 or 6 of the songs in a row. And it was just like, oh my God, guys, like, don't y'all want to drop it low? Like, what are we doing? So all my friends are a little like, oh, this is whack. So I don't think we're ever going to go back there again. And that sucks because the drinks are so cheap. I will say your girl had a very very inebriated night, but I felt alive. We got the Bachelorette up on the bowl, and she did pretty good. It was her first time, so it was a real hoot to watch her do that. Hi, Loco. Thank you for the check-in. And yeah, it just, it wasn't a bad time, but it wasn't the best time. And if you can believe it, I probably did about 15% dancing, and the rest of the time just standing or swaying at the table, which is so unlike me. I usually dance from sunup to sundown. I know, just 15%. I know, right, Loco? Because the vibes just were off. My friends weren't feeling it. Well, it was, and then like she brought a whole bunch of other people that I didn't know, and they weren't feeling it either. So it just like, it was a fun time, but it wasn't the best of times. And because I didn't do a ton of dancing, my dance meter was not satisfied. So on Valentine's Day, guess what I did? We went out to a different country bar, one that's further away. But boy, howdy, a time was had. I danced from the moment I stepped foot in there to the time that I left. So it was indeed redeemed, and that's how I spent my Valentine's Day evening. Just another boot, scoot, and boogieing night. So yeah, I had a pretty good day. Pretty good weekend. Today I saw my parents for lunch. We had pizza, and my brother came out, and my aunt. And then I came home and just relaxed, kind of set up for the upcoming week, although I'm working from home still, so... Well, tomorrow's a holiday, so it's not like I'll be working anyways. It looks like tomorrow I might be doing a potential collab with the gang, so fingers crossed we can make more progress in Baldur's Gate 3, because sometimes it seems like we're never gonna finish it because our schedules are all over the place. And so I thought about, Honeyberry, do I know any formal dances? Do you mean like ballroom dancing? Nar, unless you count country swing, and even that I barely know. I do not know any ballroom, although I would love to, because Dancing with the Stars is like my favorite show. The ballroom place. I love Dancing with the Stars, and I feel like if I maybe had a partner that I could go with, I might really want to take ballroom lessons. Hi, Kazuya. Welcome in, and thank you for the bits. How are ya? Because I love Dancing with the Stars, and I feel like I've seen so much of it. That I feel familiar with the terms and stuff. But no, and I don't really want to go to a ballroom class and meet people and strangers. When I go to the honky tonk, if a male comes up and asks me to dance, I usually will say yes, because I think if they had the courage to come out and ask me to dance, then, I don't want to, as long as I don't seem like a creepo, I usually will say yes. Especially if it's like an old guy, he's probably just there. Look, if maybe he's lonely, or maybe his partner passed, or maybe they just are looking for some interaction. Like, I usually will say yes to the old guys, because I think it's sweet. They put on their Sunday best with their little pearl snaps, or they got their nice hat on and their boots. Like, I don't get like the an old man vibe. Like, I usually just say yes. So does this mean you don't say yes to the younger guys? No, I do. I say yes to the younger guys too. And there's only been a couple times where I've said yes to a younger guy, and I had to have like my friend come and grab me, because there was this one guy who kept dipping me, but he was dipping me and putting his hand on my thigh, and I had shorts on, and I don't know you like that, and I'm already like not a physical touch person, but I like in dance it's cool or whatever, but anyways, it was just a whole thing, and I gave my friend the eyes, and she had to like come up and get me, because he was just getting a little too grabby. So she liked them salt and pepper. No. And I don't know you like that. Yeah, I don't know you like that. Like, don't uppercut. I don't know how to say what you just wrote, Kazuya. Ballroom Yukoso. Ballroom Yukoso. I'll tell you what. Okay, y'all. So yeah, that was my weekend and my Valentine's Day. I had a really good time. And I'm just I'm in a good mood. So I started thinking about what I wanted to do today. And if I'm gonna be real with you guys, I think I might make reading Sundays like maybe an every Sunday thing or an every other Sunday thing, because I have books that I have to read, that I want to read, that I'm so lucky I get to read. And I don't want to go too long without reading them. And sometimes it's hard for me to want to make the time during the day. So I thought, what a better way to do it than here with you guys. And maybe you'll be into it, or maybe you're not. Do you have hand signals to the other ladies to signal for a rescue? No, I usually just look at them like my bottle's not, it's not doing it, but I just give them like crazy eyes and they just know. They just know. So, and they all kind of know how I am about, like, like I say yes, but it's a whole thing. They all just know. So I look at them like, but also they can tell when they see a guy starting to get too grabby that they're like, she's hating this. Hi, Traflash. Yes, I put my reading glasses on today. I once started a bar crawl when a dude randomly came up to my friend and started gripping up her thigh way too high for being a complete stranger. Some guys just, or some people, because it don't have to just be men, some people just, they just get a little too handsy. I've had women come up and like when they get too drunk, they come and they like smack our butts and stuff, and it's like, whoa there, little lady, calm down. I will throw hands. Just kidding. And give them the look. Yeah, the look. Okay, so today I'm going to be reading to you guys. It's called The Last Letter from Your Lover by Jojo Moyes. I will give a very brief synopsis or summary of what I have so far. I'm pretty far into it. So I'm on chapter 17. I talked about it maybe like a week ago or so, however long it's been, where I gave you guys a summary, but prepare to listen to it again. And I'm probably going to skip a lot of stuff, but you'll get the general idea of it. Okay? But I have to switch over my screens first. We'll go like 20 minutes of reading to give myself some time. Yeah, I hit the dude, and the bartender, who was a friend, was like, whoa, Europe, what are you doing? And I said he grabbed her, and the bartender jumped over the counter and started beating the guy? I mean, that's what he gets. That's crazy. Let's see. Let's make this a cozy environment for you guys. Oh, I can't do it yet. Okay, so in this book, there's a girl, and it's romance, and also kind of a drama period piece, because it starts back in the day, like in the 1960s, so. But her name is Jennifer Sterling, and she's married to this guy named Lawrence, who's some successful businessman who mines stuff and minerals and whatever. Okay, so he's a big deal. He's a big deal is the big takeaway. And she gets into a car accident and gets amnesia. She wakes up and she's like, holy crap, I don't know who I am or whatever. And little by little, she starts getting her memory back. But things with her husband just kind of feel weird, right? She's kind of like, this is kind of odd. I don't know why. And then and her husband is like not a nice guy. Like, he doesn't like her to have opinions or a brain, right? And that's kind of the norm for back then. But she's so much more than a pretty face. And she is very pretty. Guys fawn over her all the time. And her husband is like, don't have any thoughts. Like, you need to just be boring, and that's how I like it, right? So, as she's coming to, she's kind of like, man, if this is my husband, like, why doesn't it feel right? I feel like my body should remember it, right? But she's kind of like, no, like, this doesn't feel good. But everybody keeps telling her, you're so happy, whatever. Well, she starts finding letters around her home of this great romance that she had with this guy who, in the letters, he calls himself B, or Boot. And she's like, wow, I don't know who this is, but this is why things with my husband suck. Not only is he a horrible person, but apparently I was in love with someone else. And she was going to leave him. The day of her car accident, she had packed her bags and was leaving this horrible man, okay? Yeah. And the guy it kind of bounces back and forth between the times, so I'll make sure I say it out loud when we're in present day and, the past. But anyways, so she was getting ready to leave him, right? The guy was like, leave your husband, be with me, he sucks, you don't even like him. And she's like, you know what? You're right. I'm good. We'll figure it out. So she was going to leave him, boom, car accident, amnesia, somebody dies. And as she's coming to and going through everything, eventually she confronts her husband and she's like, you knew that I had an affair, didn't you, you son of a bitch? And he's like, yeah, I knew. And guess what? That guy's dead. So sucks to suck for you. Now you're stuck here. So she's been, 4 years goes by and she's still with this horrible man, and she's like, man, and her husband is actively punishing her for what she did. He calls her a whore, he tells her she's dumb, he puts her down all the time. Like, he's just gotten even worse. He don't hit her, but he like verbally hits her and mentally hits her. And then she discovers, she goes out and she sees the guy that she was in love with, and she goes, oh my God, there you are. She immediately remembers that, and he walks up to her and he's like, I thought you hated me because you weren't there. She's like, no, on the day of my car accident, on the day of my daughter's quinceañera, I was on my way to go see you. And he's like, oh my God, this changes everything. Like, come be with me, yada, yada, yada. And she meets up with him, they sleep together. And then she's like, I have to go. And he's like, what? Like, don't do this to me again, Jennifer. Like, you're not about to leave me. You're not about to leave Anthony O'Hare. Are you kidding me? And she's like, no, I just needed to know if you feel the same way. And as she's leaving, boom, he sees her daughter. During these past 4 years, she done got knocked up by this loser. And they have a kid together, and she's like, he would never let me take her, so you have to understand why I have to stay. And he's like, yeah, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it, okay? And then, so all the while during this weird time, at some point, the super rich guy, Larry or Lawrence, starts sleeping with his secretary, even though he don't really like her. He just kind of uses her every now and then. Well, he tells that secretary, hey, I don't want you to be my secretary anymore. I'm giving the promotion to this new hot young thing. And the secretary's like, what? You're not about to throw me away. So she takes this file of all the lawsuits filed against him, right? Because he's been having people mine around asbestos, and he's been telling people that it's fine, but it turns out these people are dying, right? So he pays them off and gives them hush money. Well, she grabs that folder and gives it to Jennifer. And in that folder, there's one more letter from Anthony O'Hare, because that's how they used to communicate, by writing letters, giving her, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but he gives her this letter, or she gives him the letter, and it says, like, I still love you, come be with me, you know, just know that I'm out here, and even if you're not with me, like, I still love you, and da 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 da. And she's like, oh my God, like, I can leave Lawrence with this. I'm leaving him. But Anthony O'Hare took a job to go to Africa so he could get away from Jennifer, and that's where he likes to go. So he goes to Africa, and she goes to his newspaper place, and she's like, where is Anthony O'Hare? This is important. They're like, oh, sorry, like, he's already on the way to Africa, you know, and she can't just dial him up because it's the 1960s. And she goes, okay, I need you to give him this folder when he returns. Tell him that it's important. And it's the folder where she tells him that she loves him, and also all of these lawsuits are in there. All of the files of, like, the dead people that Lawrence has killed are in there. And they take the folder, and it's never seen for 40 years. So we don't know if he got the folder. We don't know if they are together. I just know that we're in present day, and this girl gets tasked with going through all the things. And I'm just going to read, I'll read to you, like, the last few pages of the last chapter so you can kind of get an idea of where we're at. Hi, PSO Addict. I'm getting ready to start reading to you guys. Where is the folder? Where is the folder? Oh, here we go. Okay, I'll read to you, like, the last... Oh, what year is present day? Like 2000... Let me find it. So it jumps from the 1960s, right? It jumps from the 1960s to September of 2003. So just about 40 years has gone by. Okay, so I'm going to read to you, like, the last few paragraphs from the last chapter so you can kind of get an idea of where we're at. And in present day, the girl that's reading it is named Ellie, and she is sleeping with a married man, which is kind of the theme of this book, of people sleeping with married people. And that's all, that's, you know, we all know. Like, Jennifer's married to Lawrence, who's horrible, right? And Lawrence is married to Jennifer, but he sleeps with the secretary and all the other pretty young things around his office. And now Ellie is sleeping with a married man who she swears they love each other, but they're you know, he don't. But I'm going to read to you the last few paragraphs of the previous chapter just so you can get an idea. The reason she found these files is because that newspaper office is getting ready to move into a new building. So they're going through their archives, and they're like, hey, I want you to look through this crap, make sure there's nothing important in there. Is there any music playing here? Ooh, can you guys hear this? Is the music whack? You guys want like wind blowing? You guys want some rain? Does this make it for you? Okay, well, I assume if the music is whack, you guys will tell me. I would love to have you summarize things like a soap opera. I will try. That fire is a nice touch. Okay, so I'm going to read to you the last few paragraphs from the previous chapter just so you can get an idea of where we're at. And so she's talking to the librarian, right? And the librarian says, oh wait, hold on. I need to make a message saying that I'm reading. Toasty is reading the last, letter from your lover by Jojo Moyes. Also, Jojo Moyes is currently my favorite author. This is their, let's see, I read Me Before You, The Giver of Stars, The Painting of the Girl You Left Behind, and now this one. So this is my 4th book by them, and they don't miss. They do not miss. They are so good, in my opinion, allegedly. Hi, Tomato King. I'm getting ready to read. I just went over the summary of this book, and how far I'm into it right now. I'm getting ready to read the last few paragraphs from the previous chapter, so you guys can know where I'm at. And she just went through the archives she just went through all these she's in the library, damn it. And the librarian says to Ellie, see if there's anything that's of use to you. He had leaned forward conspiratorially. Throw away whatever you don't want, but don't say anything to the boss. We're at the stage now when we can't afford to go through every last bit of paper. It soon becomes apparent why. A few theater reviews, a passenger list for a cruise ship, some menus from celebratory newspaper dinners. She flicks through them, glancing up occasionally at the television. There's not much here that'll excite Melissa, their boss. Now she's leafing through a battered file of what looks like medical records. All lung disease, she notes absently. Something to do with mining? She's about to tip the whole lot into the bin when a pale blue corner catches her eye. She tugs at it with her index finger and thumb and pulls out a hand-addressed envelope. It's been opened, and the letter inside is dated October 4th, 1960. My dearest and only love, I meant what I said. I have come to the conclusion that the only way forward is for one of us to make a bold decision. I am not as strong as you. When I first met you, I thought you were a fragile little thing, someone I had to protect. Now I realize I had us all wrong. You are the strong one, the one who can endure living with the possibility of a love like this, and the fact that we will never be allowed it. I ask you not to judge me for my weakness. The only way I can endure is to be in a place where I will never see you, never be haunted by the possibility of seeing you with him. I need to be somewhere where sheer necessity forces you from my thoughts minute by minute, hour by hour. I cannot do that here. I'm gonna take the job. I'll be at Platform 4, Paddington, at 7:15 on Monday evening, and there's nothing in the world that would make me happier than if you found the courage to come with me. If you don't come, I'll know that whatever we might feel for each other, it isn't quite enough. I won't blame you, my darling. I know the past weeks have put an intolerable strain on you, and I feel the weight of that keenly. I hate the thought that I could cause you any unhappiness. I'll be waiting on the platform from 6:45. Know that you hold my heart, my hopes, in your hands. Yours, B. Ellie reads it a second time and finds her eyes welling inexplicably with tears. She can't take her eyes off the large, looped handwriting. The immediacy of the words springs out to her more than 40 years after they were written. She turns it over, checks the envelope for clues. It's addressed to P.O. Box 13, London. It could be a man or a woman. What did you do, P.O. Box 13? She asks silently. Then she gets up, replaces the letter carefully in the envelope, and walks over to her computer. She opens the mail file and presses refresh. Nothing since the message she had received at 7:45. Gotta go to a dinner, gorgeous. Sorry, behind already. Later. Okay, so she just read that was the letter that Anthony, aka B, aka Boot, sent to Jennifer you know, way back when, to get her to leave her husband. And that is a letter that she read, and it made her go to the platform to go be with him. Then she got into that car accident with the amnesia, and so on and so forth. So Ellie in present day 2003 has just discovered this letter from the 1960s, and we don't know if Jennifer and Anthony ever rekindled or anything like that, but that's where we're at. Hi Arctic, welcome in, thank you for the check-in. I'm just reading. P. Sherman 42 City. You're babysitting a puppy? Oh nice. Shepherd Pipple mix to ultra sweetheart. She's still working on potty training. That's just an overnight concern more so. She knows how to go outside. I love that. Post a picture if you want to see it. And yes, Europe, that's what led to the accident. Hi, Billy. I'm just about to do more reading. You'll have to look up or rewind the stream to see the synopsis, because it's a lot. But, okay, we're in chapter 17, present day, give or take 40 years since the 1960s. We're in 2003, September of 2003, with a girl named Ellie who just discovered that folder, okay? From Jennifer was dropping it off for Anthony, her affair partner, but we don't know if they ever got it. Okay, here we go. Tuesday lunch. Red Lion? Any good? John. She waits for 20 minutes before he arrives, all cold air and apologies. A radio interview had gone on longer than he'd expected. He'd bumped into a sound... Oh, sorry. Ellie is sleeping with a married man. That's who she and he are, right? Or, yeah, she and he. She is Ellie. John is the married man. Okay. He'd bumped into a sound engineer he'd known at university who wanted to catch up. It would have been rude to rush away. But not rude to leave me sitting in a pub, she replies silently. But she doesn't want to upset the mood, so she smiles. You look lovely, he says, touching the side of her face. Had your hair done? No. Ah, just habitually lovely then. And with one sentence, his lateness is forgotten. He is wearing a dark blue shirt and a khaki jacket. She had once teased him that it was a writer's uniform. Understated, muted, expensive. It's the outfit she imagines him in when she's not with him. How is Dublin? Hurried, harried. He unwinds his scarf from his neck. I have this new publicist, Ross, and she seems to think it her duty to pack something into every last 15-minute slot. She'd actually allocated me loo breaks. She laughs. Are you drinking? He motions to a waiter, having spotted her empty glass. White wine. She hadn't been planning to have more. She's trying to cut down, but now he's here and her stomach has those knots that only alcohol can loosen. He chats on about his trip, the books sold, the changes in the Dublin waterfront. She watches him as he talks. She'd read somewhere that you only truly saw what someone looked like in the first 15 minutes of meeting them. That after then it was only an impression, colored by what you thought of them. It gave her comfort on the mornings when she woke up puffy-faced after drinking too much, or with eyes pixelated from lack of sleep. Not working today, then? She hauls herself back into the conversation. It's my day off. I worked last Sunday, remember? But I'm gonna pop into the office anyway. What are you working on? Oh, nothing very exciting. I found an interesting letter and wanted to have a root around in the archive in case there were more like it. A letter? Yes. He raises an eyebrow. Nothing to tell, really, she shrugs. It's old, from 1960. She doesn't know why she's being reticent. I think that's how you say this. But she would feel strange showing him the raw emotion on the page. She's afraid he might think she had some hidden reason for showing it to him. Ah, strictures were so much firmer then. I love writing about that period. It's so much more effective than creating tension. Tension? Between what we want and what we're allowed. She looks at her hands. Yep, I know all about that. The pushing against boundaries, all those rigid codes of conduct. Say that again. Her eyes meet his. Don't, he murmurs, grinning. Not in a restaurant. Bad girl. The power of words. She gets him every time. She feels the pressure of his leg against hers. After this, they will return to her flat, and she will have him to herself for at least an hour. It isn't enough. It never is, but the thought of it, his body against hers, is already making her giddy. Do you still want to eat? She asks slowly. That depends. Their eyes linger on each other. For her, there is nothing in the bar but him. He shifts in his chair. Oh, before I forget, I'm gonna be away from the 17th. Another tour? His legs are enclosing hers under the table. She struggles to focus on what she's saying. Those publishers are keeping you busy. No, he says, his voice neutral. Holiday. The briefest pause, and there it is, an actual pain, something like a punch just under her ribs. Always the softest part of her. Nice for you. She pulls her legs back. Where are you going? Barbados. Barbados. She can't help the surprise in her voice. Barbados. Not camping in Brittany. Not some distant cousin's cottage in rain-soaked Devon. Barbados doesn't suggest the drudgery of a family holiday. It suggests luxury, white sand, a wife in a bikini. Barbados suggests a treat, a destination that implies their marriage is still of value. It suggests that they might have sex. I don't suppose there will be internet access, and the phone will be difficult, just so you know. Radio silence. Something like that. She doesn't know what to say. She feels quietly furious with him, while conscious that she has no right to be. What has he ever promised her, after all? Still, there's no such thing as a holiday with small children, he says, taking a swig of his drink. Just a change of venue. Really? You wouldn't believe the amount of stuff you have to cart around. Bloody prams, high chairs, nappies. No, I wouldn't know. They sit in silence until the wine arrives. He pours her a glass, hands it to her. The silence expands, becomes overwhelming, catastrophic. I can't help the fact that I'm married, Ellie, he says eventually. I'm sorry if it hurts you, but I can't not go on holiday because it makes me jealous, she finishes. She hates the way it makes her sound, hates herself for sitting there like some sulking teenager, but she's still absorbing the significance of Barbados. The knowledge that for 2 weeks she will be trying not to imagine him making love to his wife. This is where I should walk away, she tells herself, picking up her glass. This is where any sensible person pulls together the remnants of their self-respect, announces that they deserve more, and walks off to find someone who can give them a whole self, not snatched lunchtimes and haunted empty evenings. Do you still want me to come back to yours? He is watching her carefully, his whole face an apology, etched with the understanding of what he's doing to her, this man, this minefield. Yes, she says. And then it skips forward. There is a hierarchy in newspaper offices, and librarians are somewhere near the bottom. Not quite as low as canteen staff or security guards, but nowhere near the columnists, editors, and reporters who compose the action section, the face of the publication. They are support staff, invisible, undervalued, there to do the bidding of those who are more important. But no one seems to have explained this to the man in the long-sleeved t-shirt. We're not taking requests today. He points up at a handwritten notice taped to what had been the counter. Sorry, no access to archive until Monday. Most requests can be answered online. Please try there first. An extension 3223 in an emergency. When she looks up again, he's gone. She might have been offended, but she's still thinking about John, the way he shook his head as he pulled his shirt back over his head an hour previously. Wow, he had said, tucking the tail into his waistband. I've never had angry sex before. Don't knock it, she had replied, made flippant by temporary release. She was lying on top of the duvet, staring out through the skylight at the gray October clouds. It's better than angry no sex. I liked it. He had leaned over and kissed her. I quite like the idea of you using me, a mere vehicle for your pleasure. She had thrown a pillow at him. He had been wearing that look, his face somehow softened, the look he'd worn when he was still locked into her, the look he'd worn when he was hers. Do you think it would be easier if the sex wasn't so good? She asked, pushing her hair out of her eyes. Yes and no. Because you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the sex, she thought. She had pushed herself upright, suddenly awkward. Right, she had said briskly. She had kissed his cheek, and then, for good measure, his ear. I need to get into the office. Lock the door on your way out. She padded into the bathroom. Conscious of his surprise, she had closed the door behind her and turned on the cold tap so that it gushed noisily down the plug hole. She perched on the rim of the bath and listened to him walking through to the living room, perhaps to get his shoes, then the footfall outside the door. Ellie? Ellie? She didn't respond. Ellie, I'm going now. She waited. I'll speak to you soon, gorgeous. He rapped twice on the door, and then he was gone. She sat there for almost 10 minutes after she heard the front door slam. And then it goes back to the library. The man reappears as she's about to leave. He's carrying 2 teetering boxes of files and is about to push open a door with his rear and disappear again. Still here? You've spelt there wrong, she points at the notice. He glances at it. Just can't get the staff these days, can ya? He turns towards the door. Don't go, please! She leans over the counter, brandishes the folder he'd given her. I need to look at some of your 1960s newspapers, and I wanted to ask you something. Can you remember where you found that stuff you gave me? Roughly. Why? There was something in it. A letter. I thought it might make a good feature if I could flesh it out a little. He shakes his head. I can't do it now. Sorry. We're flat out with the move. Please, 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 I need to get something together by the end of the weekend, and I know you're really busy, but I only need you to show me. I'll do the rest. He has untidy hair, and his long-sleeved t-shirt is tracked with dust, an unlikely librarian. He looks as if he should be surfing on books, rather than stacking them. He blows out his cheeks, dumps the box on the end of the counter. Okay. What kind of letter? It's this. She pulls the envelope out of her pocket. Not a lot to go on, he says, glancing at it. A P.O. box and an initial? He's Kurt. Sorry. He's Kurt. She wishes she hadn't made that crack about the spelling. I know. I just thought if you had any more in there, I might be able to... I haven't got time to... Read it, she urges. Go on. Just read it. She tails off as she remembers she doesn't know his name. She's worked there for 2 years, and she doesn't know any of the librarians' names. Rory. I'm Ellie. I know who you are. She raises her eyebrows. Down here, we like to be able to put a face to a byline. Believe it or not, we talk to each other too. He looks at the letter. I'm pretty busy, and personal correspondence isn't the kind of thing we hold on to. I don't even know how it ended up in there. He pushes it back to her, looks her in the eyes. That's T-H-E-R-E. 2 minutes? She shoves it at him. Please, Rory. He takes the envelope from her, pulls out the letter, and reads, lingering. He finishes and looks up at her. Tell me you aren't interested. He shrugs. You are, she grins. You are. He flips open the counter and motions her through with an expression of resignation. I'll have the newspapers you want on the counter in 10 minutes. I've been putting all the loose stuff in garbage bags for throwing away, but yes, come on through. You can plow through them and see if you can put anything else together, but don't tell my boss and don't expect me to help. She's there for 3 hours. She forgets the 1960 newspaper file and instead sits in the corner of the dusty basement, barely noticing as men pass her carrying boxes marked Election 67, Train Disasters, or June to July 1982. She works through the garbage bags, peeling apart reams of dusty paper, sidetracked by advertisements for cold cures, tonics, and long-forgotten cigarette brands. Her hands blackened with dust and old printing ink. She sits on an upturned crate, stacking the papers around her in chaotic piles, searching for something smaller than A3, something handwritten. She's so lost in it that she forgets to check her mobile phone for messages. She even forgets, briefly, the hour she had spent at home with John that normally would have stamped itself on her imagination for several days afterward. Above what remains of the newsroom is rumbling on, digesting and spewing out the day's news, its news list changing again and again within the hour, whole stories written and discarded according to the latest digital alterations of the news wires. In the dark corridors of the basement, it might as well have been happening on a different continent. At almost 5:30, Roy appears with 2 polystyrene cups of tea. He hands one to her, blowing on his own as he leans against an empty filing cabinet. How'd you get on? Nothing. Plenty of innovative health tonics or cricket match results from obscure Oxford colleges, but no devastating love letters. It's always going to be a long shot. I know. It was just one of those... She lifts her tea to her lips. I don't know. I read it and it stayed with me. I wanted to know what happened. How's the packing going? He sits on a crate a few feet from her. His hands are ingrained with dust and there's a smudge on his forehead. Nearly there. I can't believe my boss wouldn't let the professionals handle this. The chief librarian had been at the newspaper for as long as anyone could remember and was legendary for being able to pinpoint the date and copy of any newspaper from the most vague description. Why not? Rory sighed. He was worried they'd put something in the wrong place or lose a box. I keep telling him it's all going to end up digitally recorded anyway, but you know how he is about hard copies. How many years worth of newspapers? I think it's 80 of filed newspapers and something like 60 of clippings and associated documents. And the scary thing is, he knows where every last one belongs. She begins to move some of the papers back into a garbage bag. Perhaps I should tell him about this letter. He could probably tell me who wrote it. Rory whistles. Only if you don't mind giving it back. He can't bear to let go of a single thing. The others have been sneaking the real junk out after he's gone home, or we'd have to fill several more rooms with it. If he knew I'd given you that file of old papers, he'd probably sack me. She grimaces. Then I'll never know, she says theatrically. Know what? What happened to my star-crossed lovers? Rory considers this. She said no. Oh, you old romantic. She had too much to lose. She cocks her head at him. How do you know it was addressed to a she? Women didn't have jobs then, did they? It's dated 1960. It's hardly the bloody suffragettes. Don't know how to say that word. Here, give it to me. He holds out his hand for the letter. Okay, so maybe she had a job, but I'm sure it said something about going on a train. I should think a woman would be much less likely to say she was headed off to a new job. He reads it again, pointing at the lines. He's asking her to follow him. A woman wouldn't have asked a man to follow her. Not then. You have a very stereotypical view of men and women. No, I just spent a lot of time here immersed in the past. He gestures around him. And it's a different country. Perhaps it wasn't addressed to a woman at all, she teases. Perhaps it's to another man. Unlikely. Homosexuality was still illegal then, wasn't it? There would have been references to secrecy or something. But there are references to secrecy. It's just an affair, he says, obviously. What's this? The voice of experience? Ha! Not me. He hands the letter back to her and drinks some of his tea. He has long, squared-off fingers, working hands, not a librarian's, she thinks absently. But what would a librarian's hands look like anyway? There we go. So you've never been involved with anyone married? She glances at his finger. Or are you married and have never had an affair? Nope and nope. Never had any kind of affair. With someone involved, that is. I like my life simple. He nods at the letter, which she's tucking back into her bag. Those things never end well. What? All love that isn't simple and straightforward has to end tragically? She hears defensiveness in her voice. That is not what I said. Yes, it is. You said earlier that you thought she said no. He finishes his tea, crumples his cup, and throws it into the garbage bag. We'll be done in 10 minutes. You'd better grab what you want. Show me what you haven't had a chance to go through, and I'll try to keep it to one side. As she gathers up her belongings, he says, For what it's worth, I do think she probably said no. His expression is unfathomable. Why does that have to be the worst outcome? And that is the end of that chapter. Okay. If Rory, sorry, I just bumped my mic. If Rory is Ellie's age, I think maybe they're gonna bond. But hi, Harambe. Hi, how are you? I'm just doing some reading. I really want to read this book and finish it. I've been burning through it, and it is so stinking good. I hope you had a wonderful Valentine's Day. She needs a better person, right? She doesn't sleep with a married man who don't even like her. Like, why would you get with somebody that doesn't even care about you, right? Like, he clearly couldn't give a hoot about her. Guess what? You're pregnant. Now, what's up, Harambe? That's been my new thing. Every time someone tells me, what do you call it? That they say, guess what? I always go, you're pregnant. What are we saying? What perfect timing. I was cooking while listening to a Honey Bear audiobook production. We should do this nightly. Oh, Bayo, thank you. I think I'm gonna make it an every Sunday thing if you guys are into it. And even if you're not, I still might do it because I'm into it. Chicken butt. Thank you for the hydrate check. I will hydrate again. Yeah, she kind of brought this misery on herself. I know, right? I found an old safe and found the last few pictures I have of my mom and me as an infant. I would love to see it. Yes. I'll probably look at it after the stream, Harambe, so I can properly reply, if that is okay. Chicken butt. Guess what, chicken butt? Water. I enjoy hearing your voice. I love it. You guys are sweet. I'm gonna drink one more time. I'm gonna try to read just a chapter at a time, and then I'll chat with you guys. I need to look up what that word meant. Reticent. R-E-T-I-C-E-N-T-E. Define. How the hell do you say this word? I'm gonna say it's reticent. The alert was delayed. It was. It means not revealing one's thoughts or feelings readily. She was extremely reticent about her personal affairs. Huh. Did not know that word. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. So if you guys couldn't tell, this takes place in London. So that's why they say things like prams and nappies. So I think a pram is a stroller. All right, on to the next chapter. Chapter 18. Ellie Hayworth is living the dream. She often tells herself, so when she wakes up, hungover from too much white wine, feeling the ache of melancholy in her perfect little flat that nobody ever messes up in her absence. She secretly wants a cat, but is afraid of becoming a cliché. She holds down a job as a feature writer on a national newspaper, has obedient hair, a body that is basically plump and slender in the right places, and is pretty enough to attract attention that she still pretends offends her. She has a sharp tongue, too sharp according to her mother, a ready wit, several credit cards, and a small car she can manage without male help. When she meets people she knew at school, she can detect envy when she describes her life. She has not yet reached an age where the lack of a husband or children could be regarded as failure. When she meets men, she can see them ticking off her attributes. Great job, nice rack, sense of humor, as if she's a prize to be won. If, recently, she has become aware that the dream is a little fuzzy, that the edge she was once famed for at the office has deserted her since John came, that the relationship she had once found invigorating has begun to consume her in ways that are not exactly enviable, she chooses not to look too hard. After all, it's easy when you're surrounded by people like you, journalists and writers who drink hard, party hard, have sloppy, disastrous affairs, and unhappy partners at home who, tired of their neglect, will eventually have affairs. She is one of them, one of their cohorts, living the life of the glossy magazine pages. A life she has pursued since she first knew she wanted to write. She is successful, single, selfish. Ellie Hayworth is as happy as she can be, as anyone can be, considering. And nobody gets everything. So Ellie tells herself when occasionally she wakes up trying to remember whose dream she's meant to be living. Happy birthday, you old tart! Corinne and Nikki are waiting in the coffee shop, waving and patting a seat as she rushes in, bag flying. Come on, you're so late. We're meant to be at work by now. Sorry, I got a bit held up coming out. They glance at each other, and she can tell they suspect she's been with John. She decides not to tell them she was actually waiting for the post. She'd wanted to see if he had sent her something. Now she feels foolish for making herself 20 minutes late for her friends. How does it feel to be ancient? Nikki has cut her hair. It's still blonde, but now short and choppy. She looks cherubic. I got you a skinny latte. I'm assuming you're gonna need to watch your weight from now on. 32 is hardly ancient. At least that's what I'm telling myself. I'm dreading it, says Corinne. Somehow, 31 sounds like you might only just be past 30. Still almost technically in your 20s. 32 sounds ominously close to 35. And 35 is obviously just a short step to 40. Nikki checks her hair in the mirror behind the banquet. And a happy birthday to you too, Ellie says. Oh, we'll still love you when you're wrinkly and alone and in flesh-colored big knickers. They place 2 bags on the table. Here are your presents, and no, you can't exchange either of them. They have chosen perfectly as only friends of many years standing can. Corinne has brought her cashmere socks in dove gray, so soft that it's all Ellie can do to not put them on then and there. Nikki has given her a voucher for a prohibitively expensive beauty salon. It's for an anti-aging facial, she says wickedly. It was that or Botox. And we know how you feel about injections. She's filled with love, with gratitude for her friends. There have been many evenings in which they've said they're one another's new family, airing their fear that the others will find mates first and leave them single and alone. Nikki has a new man who, unusually, seems promising. He's solvent, kind, and has her on her toes just enough to keep her interested. Nikki has spent 10 years running away from men who behave well toward her. Corinne has just ended a relationship of a year. He was nice, she says, but they had become like brother and sister. And I'd expected marriage and a couple of kids before that happened, she'd say. They don't talk seriously of the dread that they have missed the boat their aunts and mothers are so fond of mentioning. They don't discuss the fact that most of their male friends are now in relationships with women a good 5 to 10 years younger than themselves. They make jokes about growing old disgracefully. They line up gay friends who promise to have children with them in 10 years' time if they're both single, while neither party believes that could possibly end up happening. What did he get you? Who? Ellie says innocently. Mr. Paperback Writer. Or was what he gave you the reason you were late? She already got her injection, Corinne cackles. You're both disgusting. She sips her coffee, which is lukewarm. I haven't seen him yet. But he is taking you out, Nikki says. I think so, she replies. She's suddenly furious with them for looking at her like that, for seeing through it already. She's furious with herself for not having thought up an excuse for him. She's furious with him for needing one. Have you heard from him at all, Elle? No, but it is only 8:30. Oh, Christ. I meant to be at a features meeting at 10, and I haven't got a single good idea. Well, sod him. Nikki leans over and hugs her. We'll buy you a little birthday cake, won't we, Corinne? Stay there, and I'll get one of those muffins with icing. We'll have an early birthday tea. It's then that she hears the muffled tone of her mobile phone. She flips it open. Happy birthday, gorgeous. Present to come later. Him? Says Corinne. Yes, she grins. My present's coming later. Like him, Nikki snorts, back at the table with the iced muffin. Where's he taking you? It doesn't say. Show me. Nikki snatches it. Well, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Nikki. Corinne's voice holds a warning note. Well, present to come later, kiss. It's a bit bloody vague, isn't it? It's her birthday. Exactly, and that's why she shouldn't have to decipher crappy halfway house messages from some half-baked boyfriend. Ellie, darling, what are you doing? Ellie is frozen. Nikki has broken the unspoken rule that they will say nothing no matter how foolish a relationship. They will be supportive. They will express concern through what is not said. They will not say things like, "What are you doing?" It's fine, she says. Really? Nikki looks at her. You're 32 years old. You've been in a relationship, in love, with this man for almost a year. And what you really deserve for your birthday is some measly text message that may or may not mean you are getting to at some unspecified date in the future. Aren't mistresses at least meant to get expensive lingerie, the odd weekend in Paris? Corinne is wincing. I'm sorry, Corinne. I'm just telling it like it is for a change. Ellie, darling, I love you to death, but really, what are you getting out of this? Ellie looks down at her coffee. The pleasure of her birthday is ebbing away. I love him, she says simply. And does he love you? She feels sudden hatred for Nikki. Does he know you love him? Can you actually tell him? Ellie looks over at Corinne, hoping for support, but Corinne is stirring her coffee, her eyes fixed on her spoon. Do you even think about her? Who? John's wife. Do you think she knows? The mention of her dissipates the last of Ellie's good mood. She shrugs. I don't know. And then, to fill the silence, she adds, I'm sure I would, if I were her. I think she's more interested in the children than him. Sometimes I tell myself there might even be some little part of her that is glad she's not having to worry about him. You know, about keeping him happy. Now that is wishful thinking. Maybe, but if I'm honest, the answer is no. I don't think about her. I don't feel guilty, because I don't think it would have happened if they had been happy or, connected. You have such a misguided view of men. You think he's happy with her? She studies Nikki's face. I have no idea if he's happy or not, Ellie. I just don't think he needs to be unhappy with his wife to be sleeping with you. The cafe falls silent around them. Or perhaps that's just how it feels. Ellie shifts in her chair. Corinne finally stops stirring her coffee. She makes a despairing face at Nikki, who shrugs and lifts the muffin a lot. Still, happy birthday, eh? Anybody want another cup of coffee? And then it skips forward. She slides into her desk in front of her computer. There is nothing on her desk. No note alerting her to flowers in reception. No chocolates or champagne. There are 18 emails in her inbox, not including the junk. Her mother, who bought a computer the previous year and still punctuates every emailed sentence with an exclamation mark, has sent her a message to wish her happy birthday and to tell her the dog is doing well after having had his hip replaced and that the operation cost more than Grandma Hayworth's. Features editor's secretary has sent a reminder about this morning's meeting. And Rory, the librarian, has sent her a message telling her to pop down later, but not after 2 p.m., as they'll be at the new building then. There's nothing from John. Not even a thinly disguised greeting. She deflates a little and winces when she sees Melissa striding toward her office, followed closely by Rupert. She's in trouble, she realizes, rifling through her desk. She has allowed herself to become so caught up in the letter that she has almost nothing to present from the 1960 edition, none of the contrasting examples that Melissa had asked for. She curses herself for having spent so long in the coffee shop, smooths her hair, grabs the nearest folder of papers, so that at least she looks as if she's on top of things, and runs into the meeting. So, the health pages are pretty much done and dusted, are they? And do we have the arthritis feature? I wanted that sidebar. Oh! Pause real quick, y'all. Hello, not a Professor Nap and friends. Not a professor. Nap raid. Oh no, the sleepies are coming. Welcome in. Hi, how are ya? Guys, please be a dearest and go check out Not a Professor Nap. Let's see. What do we see about you? They are a streamer who loves history, museums, and yapping about them. Wow, I love that. You can call him or call them Nap. They're a PNG tuber who has backgrounds in both history and museum work. On their channel, they use their experience in historical research to explore all new things. That is pretty stinking cool. I find that very, very interesting. EP boys. Welcome in, Raiders. Well, thank you so much for popping in. What were you talking about today? I would love to know. That is actually pretty cool. I've not seen anybody that that has the same kind of like intro. Yes, so if you are into history, museums, and want somebody who has the knowledge, the credibility, please check out Professor Knapp. They're not a professor. Please check out Knapp, excuse me. They were doing a genealogy research stream looking through historical documents live. That sounds incredibly cool, and I will have to check you out. Thank you for shouting them out, Yerp. That is pretty stinking cool. Well, to those of you who are new here, my name is Honey Toasty, aka Toasty. I'm a variety streamer here on Twitch, and now on Sundays, I am going to be reading to my chat because I like to read and I don't always make time for it. So this is a great way for me to incorporate my love of talking with you guys and my love for reading. So, and then during the week I play games. So, pretty stinking cool. Thank you so much for bringing your community here. If you have to raid and run, or if your community is just not feeling it, I totally get it. I'm just so thankful that you stopped in. What were you guys saying? So what I'm doing is I'll read, and then after the chapter is done, I will stop and talk to chat. But since you popped in, I thought I would say hello. What are we saying? The truth hurts, but her friend is right. It just sucks that the conversation came out on her birthday. Listen to me, loco. Friends tell friends, right? She's sleeping with a married man. Her friends have every right to call her out. Honestly, it's crazy that it's been going on for a year and they've not said anything. But you know what? I get it, right? They could have chosen a different day to do it, though. But they're not wrong. This man has not even acknowledged her. That's all the stuff I love. That's a bad... It is forget the late night YouTube documentaries. Time for some nap history streams, right? Right, I love watching documentaries while I paint, so now I got something new to listen to. Right, I honestly wouldn't be their friend. Yeah, I don't think I could support my friends being in an affair with a married man. Or if they were married themselves having an affair, I don't think I could. Would you have held your tongue and stayed with the agreement? No. But my friends all kind of know that there's not really any guessing with me. And if they ask me my opinion, I will give it to them. But if they're doing something morally wrong, I'm gonna say it regardless. And this is kind of morally wrong, as far as we know, right? There are exceptions to the rule, I think, but in this particular case, with the knowledge that we have, this affair is really whack and he shouldn't be doing it. So I'm currently researching everyone in an 1888 photo I bought at an antique store. 24 people in total. That is crazy. That is so cool and so different. I love that, Nap. I am reading something that jumps back and forth from the 1960s to 2003, and we're in present day 2003 right now. So there's a guy in his stream by the name of Bull who was born around there. 1888, I think Harambe said he found an old picture of himself on this area. You guys are so funny. You're on the same page. All right, let's jump back in, right? It's, I'll reset this timer. It's what's-her-face's birthday, Ellie Hayworth's birthday. She's going through some old files. If you haven't read, what's the book you were reading about? It's a lot, so I'll try to summarize it quick. In 1960s, there was a woman named Jennifer Sterling who was married to this guy named Lawrence, and he's awful. And she cheats on him with a guy named Anthony O'Hare, who she calls B, or Boot, and he writes her letters in secrecy, right? Lawrence does not want her to have a brain. He wants her to just be a pretty young thing to look at, but she has a brain. And Anthony O'Hare loves it. So they write letters to each other in secret. And he's like, hey, Jennifer, you need to leave him. And she's like, yeah, okay. So she leaves him. And then, boom, car accident on her way to go be with Anthony. And she wakes up and she has amnesia. And she can't figure it out. What's going on? And she's with her husband. And she's like, man, this feels weird. Like, I would think my body would remember you, right? But she just feels off and she doesn't know why. And everyone tells her, hey, you're happy with Lawrence. So, you know. But then later on, she finds these letters hidden in things like pantyhose or a book. And she discovers that she had an affair with this guy that she calls B. And she's like, who the hell is B? Right? Eventually, her husband is like, she confronts her husband and she's like, you knew I was in an affair. And he's like, yeah. And I knew you were going to leave. And you got into a car accident and he died in that car accident. Ha ha ha. And she's like, oh my God, my heart. I'm so sad. So she stays with Lawrence, right? And then one day, 4 years goes by and they're out at this party and boom, she sees Anthony and she's like, holy shit, it's you. You know, I knew you were here. And they rekindle, and she's like, I was on my way to go meet you. I thought you were dead. I was going to go be with you. And he's like, oh my God, let's make love. So they hook up. And she's like, I have to go. And he's like, no, come be with me. Like, I will take you back now. She's like, no, I can't. And she walks out. And then as they're in the hotel lobby, her driver comes and gets her. And boom, there is their Lawrence and Jennifer's daughter. And she's like, you see why I can't leave. He would never let me take her. So she leaves. And then at some point, Lawrence sleeps with his secretary, and the secretary's like, oh my God, he loves me, but in reality, he really doesn't give a crap about her, and he says, hey, I'm gonna replace you, secretary. Her name's Moira. And Moira's like, no, you're not. You are not going to, you're not gonna replace me. She's pissed. She gives this folder of lawsuits, or of people that have died from lung disease from asbestos, because her husband owns like a mining company. She gives the folder to Jennifer, and she's like, hey, your husband's been covering all these deaths. Do what you will with this information. And by the way, here's another letter that came in after you got into your car accident. So that guy's been alive, whatever. And she's like, oh my God, my freaking husband knew. This is my chance. So she takes her daughter, and she's like, I'm leaving you. And she goes to Anthony's newspaper place. And she's like, where's Anthony? I came to be with him. And they're like, sorry, he left to go to Africa because he likes to write about the Congo. And she's like, holy crap. Like, I can't believe this. Okay, here's this folder. And the folder has a letter and the frickin', lawsuit stuff. She's like, give it to him. He'll know what this means. And she must have put something else in there too, but we don't know yet. And then that folder gets put away for 40 years. So we jump forward to 2003. They're cleaning that newspaper office out. And this girl, Ellie Hayworth, finds the folder. And currently she's sleeping with a married man who doesn't give a shit. I'm sorry, he might care about her, but it's hard to say. And she's going through these things, and they're like wanting to write a piece about the 1960s. So yeah, that's a very brief, understated thing. But Anthony and Jennifer had this great love story, and it was so beautifully written. But yeah, the fact that this was the quick rundown is crazy. It is the quick rundown. It's kind of funny how you look at Jennifer and are okay with her affair since you know her husband is crappy. Yes, I'm not saying it's right, but like back then, she couldn't leave, and her husband was cheating on her anyway, so like, I'm not saying it's okay, but like, I get it. I don't know about the other dude's wife. Yeah. So, okay. Now we are back to present day. It's Ellie Hayworth's birthday, and she's in the newspaper office, and they are discussing the features with the boss, and she has nothing. So, the health pages are pretty much done and dusted, are they? And do we have the arthritis feature? I wanted that sidebar with alternative remedies. Any celebrity arthritics? I don't know how to say that, sorry guys. It would liven up the pictures. These are a bit dull. Ellie is fiddling with her papers. It's almost 11. What would it have cost him to send some flowers? He could have paid cash at the florist if he was really afraid of something showing up on his credit card. He'd done it before. Perhaps he's cooling. Perhaps the Barbados trip is his way of trying to reconnect with his wife. Perhaps telling her about how it was his cowardly way of communicating that she's less of importance than she had been. She flicks through the saved text messages on her phone, trying to see if there's been a noticeable cooling off in his communications. Nice piece on the war vets. Free for lunch? I'm your way around 12:30. You are something else. Can't talk tonight. We'll message you first thing. It's almost impossible to tell if there's any change in tone. There's so little to go on. Ellie sighs, flattened by the direction of her thoughts, by her friend's too blunt comments. What the hell is she doing? She asked for so little. Why? Because she's afraid that if she asks for more, he'll feel backed into a corner and the whole thing will crash down around them. She's always known what the deal was. She can't claim to have been misled. But just how little could she reasonably be expected to take? It's one thing when you know you're loved passionately and only circumstances are keeping you apart. But when there's no sign of that to keep the whole thing afloat... Ellie? She glances up to find 10 pairs of eyes on her. You were going to talk us through the ideas for next Monday's edition. Melissa's gaze is both blank and all-seeing. The then and now pages? Yes, she says, and flips through the folder on her lap to hide her flush. Yes, well, I thought it might be fun to lift the old pages directly. There was an advice columnist, so I thought we could compare and contrast then with now. Yes, says Melissa. That's what I asked you to do last week. You were going to show me what you'd found? Oh, sorry. The pages are still in the archive. The librarians are a bit paranoid about making sure they know where everything is, what with the move, she stutters. Why didn't you take photocopies? Ellie, you're cutting this a bit fine. I thought you'd have a handle on it days ago. Melissa's voice is icy. The others in the room look down, not wanting to witness the inevitable decapitation. Would you like me to give the task to someone else? One of the work experience girls, perhaps? She can see, Ellie thinks, that for months this job has just been a shadow on the radar of my day. She knows my mind's elsewhere, in a rumpled hotel bed or an unseen family house, conducting a constant parallel conversation with the man who isn't there. Melissa's eyes are on the ceiling. Ellie realizes, with sudden clarity, the precariousness of her position. I have something better, she says suddenly. I thought you'd like this more. The envelope is nestling among the papers, and she thrusts it at her boss. I was trying to get a few leads on it. Melissa reads the short letter and frowns. Do we know who this is? Not yet, but I'm working on it. I thought it would be a great feature if I could find out what happened to them, whether they ended up together. Melissa was nodding. Yes, it sounds extramarital. Scandal in the 60s, eh? 60s, eh? We could use it as a peg for how morality has changed. How close are you to finding them? I've got feelers out. Find out what happened, whether they were ostracized. If they stayed married, it's possible they won't want the publicity, Rupert observes. Such things were a much bigger deal back then. Offer them anonymity if you have to, Melissa says. But ideally, we'd like pictures. From the period of the letter, at least. That should make it harder for them to be identified. I haven't found them yet. The tightening of her skin tells Ellie this is a bad idea. But you will. Get one of the new Jornos to help you if you need to. They're good at investigative stuff. And yes, I'd like that for next week. But first, get those problem pages sorted out. I want examples I can lay out on a double-page spread by the end of the day, okay? We'll meet again tomorrow, same time. She is already striding toward the door, her perfectly groomed hair bouncing like a shampoo advert. And then it skips forward. It's Mrs. Spelling Bee. She finds him sitting in the canteen. He unplugs his earphones as she sits opposite. He's reading a guidebook to South America. An empty plate tells of lunch already eaten. Rory, I'm in such trouble. Spelled anti-disestablishmentarianism with 4 T's? No. I let my mouth run away with me in front of Melissa Buckingham, and now I have to go flesh out the love story to end all love stories for the feature pages. You told her about the letter? I got caught. I needed to give her something. The way she was looking at me, I thought I was about to be transferred to Obits. Well, that's going to be interesting. I know. And before that, I've got to go through every problem page in the 1960 editions and find their moral equivalent in the modern day. That's straightforward, isn't it? But it's time-consuming. And I've got loads of other things I'm meant to be doing. Even without finding out what happened to our mystery lovers, she smiled hopefully. I don't suppose there's anything you could do to help me. Sorry, stacked up myself. I'll dig out the 1960 newspaper files for you when I go back downstairs. That's your job, she protests. He grins. Yep, and writing and researching is yours. It's my birthday. Then happy birthday. Oh, you're all heart. And you're too used to getting your own way. He smiles at her, and she watches him gather up his book and MP3 player. He salutes as he heads towards the door. You have no idea, she thinks, as it swings shut behind them, just how wrong you are. I am 25 and I have quite a good job, but not a good enough job to do all the things I would like to do, to have a house and a car and a wife. Because obviously you acquire one of those along with the house and the car, Ellie mutters at the faded newsprint. Or perhaps after a washing machine, maybe that should take priority. I have noticed that many of my friends have got married, and their standard of living has dropped considerably. I have been going fairly regularly with the girl for 3 years, and I would very much like to marry her. I have asked her to wait 3 years until we can get married and live in rather better circumstances, but she says she is not going to wait for me. 3 years? Ellie muses. I don't blame her. You're hardly giving her the impression that yours is a great passion, are you? Either we get married this year or she won't marry me at all. I think this is an unreasonable attitude since I have pointed out that she will have a rather lower standard of living. Do you think that there is any other argument that I can add to the ones I have already made? No, pal, she says aloud as she slides another old sheet of newspaper under the lid of the photocopier. I think you've made yourself quite clear. She returns to her desk, sits down, and pulls the crumpled handwritten letter from her folder. My dearest and only love, if you don't come, I'll know that whatever we might feel for each other, it isn't quite enough. I won't blame you, my darling. I know the past weeks have put an intolerable strain on you, and I feel the weight of that keenly. I hate the thought that I could cause you any unhappiness. She rereads the words again and again. They hold passion, force, even after so many years. Why would you suffer the priggish, I have pointed out to her that she will have a rather lower standard of living, when you could have... Know that only you hold my heart, my hopes in your hands. She wishes the unknown girlfriend of the first correspondent a lucky escape. Ellie makes a desultory check for a new email, then mobile phone messages. She chews the end of a pencil. She picks up the photocopied problem page and puts it down again. Then she clicks open a new message on her computer screen, and before she can think about it too hard, she types. The one present I really want for my birthday is to know what I mean to you. I need for us to have an honest conversation, and for me to be able to say what I feel. I need to know whether we have any kind of future together. And she adds, I love you, John. I love you more than I have ever loved anyone in my whole life, and this is starting to drive me crazy. Her eyes have filled with tears, her hand moves to send. The department shrinks around her. She is dimly aware of Caroline, the health editor, chatting on the phone at the next desk, of the window cleaner on his teetering cradle outside the window, of the news editor having an argument with one of his reporters somewhere on the other side of the office, the missing carpet tile at her feet. She sees nothing but the winking cursor, her words, her future laid bare on the screen in front of her. I love you more than I have ever loved anyone in my whole life. If I do this now, she thinks, it will be decided for me. It will be my way of taking control, and if it isn't the answer I want, at least it's an answer. Her forefinger gently rests on send. And I will never touch that face, kiss those lips, feel those hands on me again. I will never hear the way he says Ellie Hayworth, as if those words themselves are precious. The phone on her desk rings. She jumps, glances at it, as if she'd forgotten where she is, then wipes her eyes with her hand. She straightens, then picks it up. Hello? Hey, birthday girl, says Rory. Get yourself down to the cells at chucking out time. I might just have something for you. And bring me a coffee while you're at it. That's the charge for my labors. She puts down the receiver, turns back to her computer, and presses delete. So what did you find? She hands a cup of coffee over the counter and he takes it. There's a fine sprinkling of dust in his hair, and she fights the urge to ruffle it out, as one would with a child. He has already felt patronized by her once. She doesn't want to risk offending him a second time. Any sugar? No, she says. I didn't think you took it. I don't. He leans forward over the countertop. Look, boss is lurking. I need to be discreet. What time are you finishing? Whenever, she says. I'm pretty much through. He rubs his hair. The dust forms an apologetic cloud around him. I feel like the character in Peanuts. Which was it? She shook her head. Pigpen, the one with the dirt floating around him. We're shifting boxes that haven't been touched in decades. I can't really believe we're ever going to need parliamentary minutes from 1932, whatever he says. Still, the Black Horse? Half an hour? The pub? Yes. I sort of might have plans. She wants to ask, can't you just give me what you found? But even she can see how ungrateful that will sound. It'll only take 10 minutes. I've got to meet some friends afterward anyway, but it's cool. It can wait till tomorrow if you'd prefer. She thinks about her mobile phone, mute and recriminating in her back pocket. What's her alternative? Rushing home and waiting for John to call there? Another evening spent sitting in front of the television, knowing that the world is revolving somewhere without her? Oh, what the hell. A quick drink would be great. Half a shandy. Live dangerously. Shandy, huh? I'll see you in there. He grins. I'll be the one clutching a file marked top secret. Oh yes? I'll be the one shouting, buy me a proper drink, cheapo. It's my birthday. No red carnation in your buttonhole, just so I can identify you? No means of identification. That way it's easier for me to escape if I don't like the look of you. He nods approvingly, sensible. And you're not going to give me a clue as to what you found? Ah, some birthday surprise that would be. And with that, he's gone, back through the double doors and into the bowels of the newspaper. And then it skips forward. The ladies is empty. She washes her hands, noting that now the building days are numbered. The company is no longer bothering to refresh the soap dispenser or the tampon machine. Next week, she suspects, they'll have to start bringing in emergency loo roll. She checks her face, applies some mascara, and paints out the bags under her eyes. She puts on lipstick, then rubs it off. She looks tired and tells herself the lightning in there is harsh, and that this is not an inevitable consequence of being a year older. Then she sits beside a wash basin, pulls her phone from her bag, and types a message. Just checking. Does later mean this evening? I'm trying to work out my plans. E. It doesn't come across as clingy, possessive, or even desperate. It suggests that she's a woman with many offers, things to do, but implies that she'll put him first if necessary. She fiddles with it for a further 5 minutes, making sure she has the tone completely right, then sends it. The reply comes back almost immediately. Her heart jumps, as it always does when she knows it's him. Difficult to say at the moment. We'll call later if I think I can make it. J. A sudden rage ignites within her. That's it? She wants to yell at him. My birthday and the best you can do is we'll call later if I think I can make it? Don't bother, she types back, her fingers jabbing at the little keys. I'll make my own plans. And, for the first time in months, Ellie Hayworth turns off her phone before she sticks it back into her bag. She spends longer than she intended working on the problem page's features, writes up an interview with a woman whose child suffers from a form of juvenile arthritis, and when she arrives at the black house, Rory is there. She can see him across the room, his hair now free of dust. She makes her way through the crowd toward him, apologizing for the bumped elbows, the badly negotiated spaces, already preparing to say, sorry, I'm late, when she realizes he's not alone. The group of people with him are not familiar. They're not from the newspaper. He's at their center, laughing. Seeing him like this, out of context, throws her. She turns away to gather her thoughts. Hey, Ellie! She paints on a smile and turns back. He lifts a hand. Thought you weren't coming. I got held up, sorry. She joins the group and says hello. Let me buy you a drink. It's Ellie's birthday. What would you like? She accepts the flurry of greetings from the people she doesn't know, letting them falter to a few embarrassed smiles and wishing she wasn't there. Making small talk wasn't part of the deal. She wonders, briefly, if she can leave, but Rory is already at the bar buying her a drink. White wine, he says, turning to hand her a glass. I would have got champagne, but I get my own way far too much already. He laughs. Yeah, touche. Thanks anyways. He introduces her to his friends, reels off names she's forgotten even before he's finished. So, she says. Down to business. Excuse us for a minute, he says, and they make their way to a corner where it's emptier and quieter. There's only one seat, and he motions her to it, squatting on the haunches beside him. Or on his haunches beside her. He unzips his backpack and pulls out a folder marked asbestos/case studies, symptoms. And this is relevant because... Patience, he says, handing it over. I was thinking about the letter we found last time. It was with a load of papers on asbestos, right? Well, there's heaps of stuff on asbestos downstairs, from the group legal actions of the last few years mainly. But I decided to dig around a bit further back and found some much older stuff. It's dated from much the same time period as the bits I gave you last time. I think it must have become separated from that first file. He flicks through the papers with expert fingers. And, he says, pulling out a clear plastic folder, I found these. Her heart stills. 2 envelopes, the same handwriting. the same address, a P.O. box at the Langley Street post office. Have you read them? He grins. How much restraint do I look like I have? Of course I read them. Can I? Go ahead. The first is simply headed Wednesday. I understand your fear that you will be misunderstood, but I tell you it is unfounded. Yes, I was a fool that night in Alberto's, and I will never be able to think of my outburst without shame. But it was not your words that prompted it. It was the absence of them. Can't you see, Jenny, that I am predisposed to see the best in what you say, what you do? But just as nature abhors a vacuum, so does the human heart. Foolish, insecure man that I am, as we both seem so unsure what this actually comprises, and we cannot talk about where it may go. All that is left to me is reassurance about what it may mean. I simply need to hear that this is for you what it is for me. In short, everything. If those words still fill you with trepidation, I give you an easier option. Answer me simply in one word. Yes. On the 2nd, there is a date, but again, no greeting. The handwriting, while recognizable, is scrawled as if it had been dashed off before its author could give it careful thought. I swore I wouldn't contact you again, but 6 weeks on, and I feel no better. Being without you, thousands of miles from you, offers no relief at all. The fact that I am no longer tormented by your presence, or presented with daily evidence of my inability to have the one thing I truly desire, has not healed me. It has made things worse. My future feels like a bleak, empty road. I don't know what I'm trying to say, darling Jenny. Just that if you have any sense at all that you made the wrong decision, the door is still wide open. And if you feel that your decision was the right one, know this at least. That somewhere in this world is a man who loves you, who understands how precious and clever and kind you are, a man who has always loved you and, to his detriment, suspects he always will. Yours, B. Jenny, he says. She doesn't reply. She didn't go, he says. Yep, you were right. He opens his mouth as if to speak, but perhaps something in her expression changes his mind. She lets out a breath. I don't know why, she says, but that's made me feel a bit sad. But you have your answer, and you have a clue to the name, if you really want to write this feature. Jenny, she muses. It's not a lot to go on. But it's the second letter that was found in files about asbestos, so perhaps she had some link to it. It might be worth going through the 2 files, just to see if there's anything else. You're right. She takes the file from him carefully, replaces the letter in the plastic folder, and puts it all in her bag. Thanks, she says. Really. I know you're busy at the moment, and I appreciate it. He studies her in the way someone might scan a file, searching for information. When John looks at her, she thinks, it's always with a kind of tender apology, for who they are, for what they have become. You really do look sad. Oh, just a sucker for a happy ending, she forces a smile. I guess I just thought when you said you'd found something that it might show it ended well. Don't take it personally, he says, touching her arm. Oh, I couldn't care less, really, she says brusquely. But it fit the feature much better if we could end on a high note. Melissa might not even want me to write the thing if it doesn't end well. She brushes a lock of hair from her face. You know what she's like? You know what she's like. Let's keep it upbeat. Readers get enough misery from the news pages. I feel like I rained on your birthday, he says as they make their way back across the pub. He has to stoop and shout it into her ear. Don't worry about it, she shouts back. It's a pretty apt finish to the day I've had. Come out with us, Rory says, stopping her with a hand on her elbow. We're going ice skating. Someone's pulled out, so we have a spare ticket. Ice skating? It's a laugh. I'm 32 years old. I can't go ice skating. It's his turn to look incredulous. Oh. Well then, he nods understandingly, we can't have you toppling off your walker. I thought ice skating was for children, teenagers. Then you're a very unimaginative person, Miss Hayworth. Finish your drink and come with us. Have a bit of fun. Unless you really can't get out what you have planned. She feels for her phone tucked into her bag, tempted to turn it on again, but she doesn't want to read John's inevitable apology. Doesn't want the rest of this evening colored by his absence, his words, the ache for him. If I break my leg, she says, you're contractually obliged to drive me in and out of work for 6 weeks. Might be interesting, as I don't own a car. Will you settle for a piggyback? He's not her type. He's sarcastic, a bit chippy, probably several years younger than she is. She suspects he earns significantly less than she does, and probably still shares a flat. It's possible he doesn't even drive. But he's the best offer she's likely to get at 6:45 on her 32nd birthday. And Ellie has decided that pragmatism is an underrated virtue. And if my fingers get sliced off by someone's random skate, you have to sit at my desk and type for me. You only need one finger for that, or a nose. God, you hacks are a bunch of prima donnas, he says. Right, everyone, drink up. The tickets say we've got to be there for past. Skips forward. As Ellie walks back from the tube sometime later, she realizes the pain in her sides is not from the skating, although she hasn't fallen over so often since she was learning to walk. But because she has laughed pretty solidly for almost 2 hours, skating was comic and exhilarating, and she realized as she took her first successful baby steps onto the ice that she rarely experienced the pleasure of losing herself in simple physical activity. Rory had been good at it, most of his friends were. We come here every winter, he said, gesturing at the temporary rink, floodlit and surrounded by office buildings. They put it up in November, and we probably come every fortnight. It's easier if you've had a few drinks first. You relax more. Come on, let your limbs go. Just lean forward a bit. He had skated backward in front of her, his arms outstretched so that she clutched them. When she fell over, he laughed mercilessly. It was liberating to do this with someone whose opinion she cared so little for. If it had been John, she would have fretted that the chill of the ice was making her nose redden. She would have been thinking the whole time about when he would have had to leave. They arrived at her door. Thanks, she says to Rory. Tonight was going pretty badly, and I ended up having a great time. Least I could do after raining all over your birthday with that letter. I'll get over it. Who'd have thought Ellie Hayworth has a heart? It's just an ugly rumor. You're not bad, you know, he says, a smile playing around his eyes, for an old bird. She wants to ask him if he's talking about the skating, but she's suddenly unnerved by what he might say. And you're all the charm. He blinks, glances back down the road toward the tube station. She wonders, briefly, if she should invite him in, but even as she considers it, she knows it won't work. Her head, her flat, her life are full of John. There's no room for this man. Perhaps what she actually feels for him is sisterly, and only mildly confused by the fact that he is not exactly ugly. He's studying her face again, and she has this unnerving suspicion that her deliberation was written on her face. I'd better go, he says. Yes, she says. Thanks again, though. No problem. I'll see you at work. He kisses her cheek, then turns and half jogs towards the station. She watches him go, feeling oddly bereft. Ellie makes her way up the stone steps and reaches for her key. She will reread the new letter and go through the papers, checking for clues. She'll be productive. She'll channel her energies. She feels a hand on her shoulder and jumps, stifling a scream. John is on the step behind her, a bottle of champagne and a ridiculously large bunch of flowers under one arm. I'm not here, he says. I'm in Somerset giving a lecture to a writers group who are talentless and include at least one interminable bore. He stands there as she catches her breath. You can say something, as long as it's not go away. She's mute. He puts the flowers and champagne on the step and pulls her into his arms. His kiss has the warmth of his car. I've been sitting over there for almost half an hour. I started to panic that you weren't coming home at all. Everything inside her melts. She drops her bag, feels his skin, his weight, his size, and allows herself to fall against him. He takes her cold face in his warm hands. Happy birthday, he says when they finally pull apart. Somerset? She says a little giddy. Does that mean all night? It's her 32nd birthday, and the man she loves is there with champagne and flowers and is going to spend all night in her bed. So, can I come in, he says. She frowns at him in a way that says, do you really need to ask? Then she picks up the flowers, the champagne, and heads upstairs. Whew! What a chapter, you guys! She's gonna get with Rory. I think so, too. Divorce was a thing in the 60s. It was, but no-fault divorce was not the same. You need a divorce for abuse. Yes. And technically, from our knowledge so far, Lawrence does not hit Jennifer. He just isn't very kind to her. That's why people made stuff up to get divorced back then. So Jennifer also talks about, another layer to this is that her family was so proud of her for bagging Lawrence. Oh! Nap! Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Honey Squad. You just made my day so much sweeter. I am so happy that you followed. I hope you're enjoying the book. So back then, right, Lawrence wasn't necessarily like hitting her. We don't know, at least. He just wasn't kind to her. And her family was so happy that she married Lawrence that she felt like if she divorced him, first of all, she would have no money, right? Because he was rich and she had nothing. And secondly, she felt like her family would disown her. So, and her friends, truthfully, she thought would disown her. So that was another reason that she never left him. Also, or that she was afraid to leave him. Also, like, when a man leaves a woman, back then, it was cool. But if a woman leaves a man, it was like, oh, harlot, disgusting, dried up, nobody's gonna want you. So, you know, another reason. I do have to get ready for bed, but hope you have a great rest of the stream. Good night, Nap. I hope you have a wonderful night of rest. And thank you so much for popping in and for the raid. Sleep well, sweet dreams, and may you wake up feeling rejuvenated and ready for the day. Oh, he want her so bad. He do. Rory want Ellie so bad. And she wants him so bad, even though she's like, oh, he's a young guy. Like, I think she wants him. Rory is the only character I like in this book so far. I know, right? When a man wants a woman. So the thing that I've been enjoying about this book is I don't necessarily know how it's going to end. Like, I want to believe that Jennifer and Bea found each other. She's 32. She's 32. I want to believe that they find each other. I really do. But it's kind of hard to tell. I think they're going to end up together. I just don't know how they're going to end up together. You know? Kind of like how I think Rory and Ellie are going to end up together, but I don't know how. And that has been a reoccurring theme with Jojo Moyes books. I can never predict how they're going to end. And usually I cry, or by the end of it, I am so happy with the ending, or just crippled by how it ended. You know, it's always an extreme reaction. I'm never just like, oh, what a good book, and then I put it down. I'm always like, oh, that was so beautiful, or oh, that was so sad. So I really, really like Jojo Moyes books. I try to space them out. As you guys know, I'm still reading the Bridgerton books, but I am taking a pause from them to read The Last Letter from Your Lover, and I recently read The People We Meet on Vacation, which I hated, so. I will say 32 is not old. I think it's a little old, but alright, go off. Anyways, y'all. Yeah, okay, so let's do one more chapter, and then I'll probably wrap this up, you know? Hope that's okay with y'all. I am gonna turn my raids off, so I don't have another one come in. So yeah, let's get one more chapter in. And then, I'm really enjoying this. I hope you guys are liking this. I hope it's, I don't know, I hope it's interesting. So, this is gonna be a thing that I do every Sunday. So, get ready. I am. And then, indeed, yeah, and then, Let me check my phone real quick. A little looky-loo. Wow. Dang, it's already 9 o'clock. That's crazy. How is it already so late? Alright, here we go. You would make an amazing audiobook person? That's late. It is late. Like, honestly, not even just trying to hype you up. I would love to be an audiobook reader so much. If I could get paid to do this, even as a side hustle, I would love it so much. But I feel like it takes, like, I don't know, like, the right resources or anything like that. And I also just don't want to research it. So maybe someday, but not today. How many characters do you think you can create? How many characters do I think I can create with my voice? It depends. When I don't feel like, with you guys listening to me, I feel just a little bit, you know, not embarrassed, but maybe just slightly. When I read in my head, I usually do give them voices, so I don't know. I mean, you're building a portfolio right now, probably just gotta send it to the publishing agency. I'd have to edit it. Spotlighted, yeah, I would say so. Points to Google. It's free. I know, y'all. Maybe someday, but not today. All right, let's get it poppin'. Here we go. Chapter 19. Ellie, may I have a word? She's sliding her bag under her desk, her skin still moist from the shower she had not half an hour previously. Her thoughts still elsewhere. Melissa's voice from the glass office is hard, a brutal re-entry into real life. Of course. She nods and smiles obligingly. Someone has left a coffee for her. It's lukewarm, has obviously been there some time. There's a note underneath it addressed to Jane Torville that reads, "Lunch?" She has no time to digest this. She has whipped off her coat, is walking into Melissa's office, noting with dismay that the features editor is still standing. She perches on a chair and waits as Melissa walks slowly around her desk and sits down. She's wearing a pair of velvety black jeans and a black polo neck, and has the toned arms and stomach of someone who does several hours of Pilates every day. She sports what the fashion pages would call statement jewelry, which Ellie assumes is just a trendy way of saying big. Melissa lets out a little sigh and stares at her. Her eyes are a startling violet, and Ellie wonders briefly whether she's wearing colored contact lenses. They're the exact shade of her necklace. This isn't a conversation I'm entirely comfortable having, Ellie, but it's become unavoidable. Oh? It's nearly 11:15. Ah, yes, I appreciate that Features is considered the more relaxed end of the nation, but I think we're generally agreed that 9:45 is pretty much the absolute latest I want my staff at their desks. Yes, I like to give my writers a chance to prepare themselves for conference. That gives them time to read the day's newspapers, check the websites, talk, inspire, and be inspired. She swivels a little in her chair seat, checks an email. It's a privilege to be in conference, Ellie. A chance a lot of other writers would be very glad to have. I'm finding it hard to see how you can possibly be prepared to a professional degree if you're skidding in here minutes beforehand. Ellie's skin prickles. With wet hair. I'm very sorry, Melissa. I had to wait in for a plumber and... Let's not, Ellie, she says quietly. I'd rather you didn't insult my intelligence. And unless you're going to be able to convince me that you have a plumber in attendance almost every other day of the week, I'm afraid I have to conclude that you're not taking this job very seriously. Ellie swallows. Our web presence means there's no place to hide it on newspaper anymore. Every writer's performance can be judged not just by the quality of their work on our print pages, but by the number of hits their stories get online. Your performance, Ellie, she consults a piece of paper in front of her, has dropped by almost 40% in a year. Ellie can say nothing. Her throat dries. The other editors and writers are congregating outside Melissa's office, clutching oversized notepads and polystyrene cups. She watches them glance through the glass at her, some curious, some vaguely embarrassed, as if they know what is happening to her. She wonders briefly if her work has been a wider topic of conversation and feels humiliated. Melissa is leaning across her desk. When I took you on, you were hungry. You were ahead of the game. It's why I picked you above any number of other regional reporters who, frankly, would have sold their grandmothers to be in your position. Melissa, I don't want to know what's going on in your life, Ellie. I don't want to know if you have some personal problems, if someone close to you has died, if you're in mountains of debt. I don't even particularly want to know if you're seriously ill. I just want you to do the job you're paid to do. You must know by now that newspapers are unforgiving. If you don't pull in the stories, we don't get the advertising or, indeed, the circulation figures. If we don't get those things, we're all out of a job, some of us sooner than others. Am I making myself clear? Very clear, Melissa. Good. I don't think there's any point in you coming to conference today. Get yourself sorted out, and I'll see you in the meeting tomorrow. How's that love letters feature coming along? Good, yes. She's standing, trying to look as if she knows what she's doing. Right. You can show me tomorrow. Please tell the others to come in on your way out. At a little after 12:30, she runs the 4 flights of stairs down to the library, her mood still dark, the joys of her previous evening forgotten. The library is like an empty warehouse. The shelves are now bare around the counter, the misspelled paper notice ripped off, only 2 sides of scotch tape remaining. Behind the second set of swinging doors, she can hear furniture being dragged. The chief librarian is running a finger down a list of figures, his glasses tilted at the end of his nose. Is Rory around? He's busy. Can you tell him I can't meet him for lunch? I'm not sure where he is. She feels anxious about Melissa noticing she's not at her desk. Well, are you likely to see him? I need to tell him that I've got to go out on this feature. Can you tell him I'll pop down at the end of the day? Perhaps you could leave him a note. But you said you didn't know where he was. He looks up, his brow lowered. Sorry, but we're in the final stages of our mood. I don't have time to be passing on messages. He sounds impatient. Fine. I'll just head up to personnel and waste their time asking for his mobile number, shall I? Just so I can make sure I don't stand him up and waste his time. He holds up a hand. I'll tell him if I see him. Oh, don't trouble yourself. So sorry to have bothered you. He turns slowly toward her and fixes her with what her mother might have termed an old-fashioned look. We in the library may be considered something not far short of an irrelevance by you and your ilk, Miss Hayworth, but at my age, I stop a little short of office dog's body. Forgive me if that inconveniences your social life. She remembers, with a start, Rory's claim that the librarian can all but put a face to a byline. She doesn't know this man's name. She blushes as he disappears through the swing doors. She's cross with herself for behaving like a stropey teenager, cross with the old man for being so uncooperative. Cross that Melissa's icy assessment means she can't have a cheerful lunch outside on a day that has started so well. John had stayed till almost 9 o'clock. The train from Somerset didn't get in until 11:15, he said, so there was no point in racing off. She had him cook scrambled eggs on toast, almost the only thing she can cook well. Oh, she had cooked him scrambled eggs on toast, almost the only thing she can cook well, and sat there in bed, blissfully stealing bits from his plate as he ate it. They had spent a whole night together only once before, back in the early days of their relationship when he had claimed to be obsessed with her. Last night, it had been like those early days. He had been tender, affectionate, as if his impending holiday had made him extra sensitive to her feelings. She didn't talk about it. If this past year has taught her one thing, it is to live in the present. She immersed herself in every moment, refusing to cloud it by considering the cost. The fog would come, it always did, but she usually collected enough memories to cushion it a little. She stands on the stairs, thinking of his bare, freckled arms wrapped around her, his sleeping face on her pillow. It had been perfect. Perfect. A small voice wonders whether one day, if only he'd think about it hard enough, he'll realize that their whole life could be like that. It's a short taxi ride to the post office in Langley Street. Before she leaves the office, she takes care to tell Melissa's secretary. Here's my mobile number if she wants me, she says, her voice dripping with professional courtesy. I'll be about an hour. Although it's lunchtime, the post office isn't busy. She walks to the front of the non-existent queue and waits obediently for the electronic voice to call. Till number 4, please. Can I talk to someone about P.O. boxes, please? Hang on. The woman disappears, then reemerges, pointing for her to move to the end, where there is a door. Margie will meet you down there. A young woman sticks her head around the door. She's wearing a name tag, a large gold chain with a crucifix, and a pair of heels so high that Ellie wonders how she can bear to stand in them, let alone spend a whole day working in them. She smiles, and Ellie thinks briefly how rare it is that anyone smiles at you in the city anymore. This is gonna sound a little strange, Ellie begins. But is there a way of finding out who rented a P.O. box years ago? They can change pretty frequently. When are you talking about? Ellie wonders how much to tell her, but Margie has a nice face, so she adopts her confidential tone. She reaches into her bag and pulls out the letters, carefully enclosed in a clear plastic folder. It's a bit of a strange one. It's some love letters I found. They're addressed to a P.O. box here, and I want to return them. She has Margie's interests. It's probably a nice change from benefit payments and catalog returns. P.O. Box 13, Ellie points at the envelope. Margie's face reveals recognition. 13? You know the one? Oh, yes. Margie's lips are compressed, as if she's considering how much she's allowed to say. Apart from a short break, that P.O. box has been held by the same person for, almost 40 years? Not that that's particularly unusual in itself. So what is? The fact that it's never had a letter, not one. We've contacted the holder lots of times to give her the chance to shut it down. She says she wants to keep it open. We say it's up to her if she wants to waste her money. She peers at the letter. Love letter, is it? Oh, how sad. Can you give me her name? Ellie's stomach tenses. This could be a better story even than she envisaged. The woman shakes her head. Sorry, I can't. Data protection and all that. Oh, please. She thinks of Melissa's face as if she can come back with a forbidden love story that lasted 4 years. Please, you have no idea how important this is to me. Sorry, I really am, but it could cost me more than my job. Ellie swears under her breath and glances behind her at the queue as she has suddenly appeared. Oh, that has suddenly appeared. Margie is turning back to her door. Thank you anyway, Ellie says, remembering her manners. No problem. Behind them, a small child is crying, trying to escape from the restraints of its pram. Hang on. Ellie's rustling in her bag. Yes? She grins. Could I, leave a letter in it? Dear Jennifer, please excuse the intrusion, but I have come across some personal correspondence that I believe may be yours, and I'd welcome the opportunity to return it to you. I can be contacted on the numbers below. Yours sincerely, Ellie Hayworth. And then it skips forward. Rory looks at it. They're sitting at the pub across from the Nation. It's dark, even so early in the evening, and under the sodium lights, green removal lorries are still visible outside the front gate. Men in overalls traveling backward and forward up the wide steps to the Nation's entrance. They have been an almost permanent fixture for weeks now. What? You think I've got the wrong tone? No, he's sitting beside her on the banquet, 1 foot angled against the table leg in front of them. What then? You're doing that thing with your face. He grins. I don't know, don't ask me. I'm not a journalist. Come on, what does the face mean? Well, doesn't it make you feel a bit... What? I don't know, it's so personal. And you're going to be asking her to air her dirty linen in public. She might be glad of the chance. She might find him again. There's a note of defiant optimism in her voice. Or she might be married, and they've spent 40 years trying to get over her affair. I doubt it. Anyway, how do you know it's dirty linen? They might be together now. It might have had a happy ending. And she kept that P.O. box open for 40 years? It didn't have a happy ending. He hands back the letter. She might even be mentally ill. Oh, so holding a torch for someone means you're mad? Obviously. Keeping a P.O. box open for 40 years without getting a single letter in it is on the far side of normal behavior. He has a point, she concedes, but the idea of Jenny and her empty P.O. box has taken hold of her imagination. More important, it's the closest thing she has to a decent feature. I'll think about it, she says. She doesn't tell him she posted the good copy that afternoon. So, he says, did you have a good time last night? Not too sore today? What? The ice skating. Oh, a little. She straightens her legs, feeling the tightness in her own thighs, and reddens a little when she brushes his knee with her own. In-jokes have sprung up between them. She is Jane Torville. He is the humble librarian, there to do her bidding. He texts her with deliberate misspellings. Please, will the smart lady come and have a drink with the humble librarian later, riddled with errors. I heard you came down to find me. She glances at him and he's grinning again. She grimaces. Your boss is so grumpy. Honestly, it was as if I'd asked him to sacrifice his firstborn when all I was doing was trying to get a message to you. He's all right, Rory says, wrinkling his nose. He's just stressed. Really stressed. This is his last project before he retires, and he's got 40,000 documents to move in the right order. Plus the ones that are being scanned for digital storage. We're all busy, Rory. He just wants to leave it shipshape. He's old school, you know. Everything's for the good of the paper. I like him. He's of a dying breed. Okay, I know I'm taking a pause real quick, but I'm gonna call it that librarian. What if it's B? What if it's Anthony O'Hare? Okay, sorry, I'm gonna keep going because they haven't said his name, right? They just keep calling him the boss, so what if? Okay, sorry, let me continue. She thinks of Melissa, she of the cold eyes and high heels, and cannot help but agree with him. He knows everything there is to know about this place. You should talk to him sometime. Yes, because he's obviously taken such a shine to me. I'm sure he would if you asked him nicely. Like I speak to you? No, I said nicely. Are you gonna go for his job? Me? Rory lifts his glass to his lips. Nah, I want to go traveling. South America. This was only meant to be a holiday job for me. Somehow I ended up staying 18 months. You've been here 18 months? You mean you hadn't noticed me? He makes a mock hurt face and she blushes again. I thought I would have seen you before now. You hacks only see what you want to see. We're the invisible drones. They're merely to fulfill your bidding. He's smiling and spoke without malice, but she knows there's an unpleasant kernel of truth in what he said. So I'm a selfish, uncaring hack, blind to the needs of the true workers, and nasty to decent old men with a work ethic, she muses. That's about the size of it. Then he looks at her properly, and his expression changes. What are you gonna do to redeem yourself? It's astonishingly hard to meet his eye. She's trying to work out how to answer when she hears her mobile phone. Sorry, she mutters, scrabbling in her bag. She clicks open the little envelope symbol. Just wanted to say hi. Away halls tomorrow. We'll be in touch when I get back. Take care. Jay. She's disappointed. Say hi? After the whispered intimacies of the previous evening? The uninhibited coming together, he wants to say hi? She rereads the message. He never says much via the mobile phone. She knows that. He told her at the start it was too risky, in case his wife happened to pick it up before he could delete some incriminating message. And there's something sweet in take care, isn't there? He's telling her how he wants her to be okay. She wonders, even as she calms herself, at how far she stretches these messages, finding a whole hinterland in the sparse words he sends to her. She believes they're so connected to each other that it's fine. She understands what he really wants to say. But occasionally, like today, she doubts that there really is anything beyond the shorthand. How to reply? She can hardly say, have a good holiday, when she wants him to have a terrible time, his wife to get food poisoning, his children to whine incessantly, and the weather to fail spectacularly, confining them all to a grumpy indoors. She wants him to sit there, missing her, missing her, missing her. Take care of yourself. E. When she looks up, Rory's eyes are fixed on the removals lorry outside, as if he's pretending not to be interested in what's going on beside him. Sorry, she says, tucking her phone back into the bag. Work thing, aware, even as she says it, why she's not telling him the truth. He could be a friend, is already a friend. Why would she not tell him about John? Why do you think nobody writes love letters like these anymore? She says instead, pulling one from her bag. I mean, yes, there are texts and emails and things, but nobody sends them in language like this, do they? Nobody spells it out anymore like our unknown lover did. The removal lorry has pulled away. The front of the newspaper building is blank and empty, its entrance a dark maw under the sodium lights, its remaining staff deep inside, making last-minute changes to the front page. Perhaps they do, he says, and his face has lost that brief softness. Or, perhaps, if you're a man, it's impossible to know what you're meant to say. And then it skips forward. The gym at Swiss Cottage is no longer near either of their homes, has equipment that is regularly out of order, and the reception is so bullshit that they wonder whether she's been planted there by some opposition, but neither she nor Nikki can be bothered to go through the interminable process of ending their membership and finding somewhere new. It has become their weekly meeting place. After a few desultory laps up and down the small pool, they sit in the hot tub or the sauna for 40 minutes to talk, having convinced themselves that these things are good for the skin. Nikki arrives late. She's preparing for a conference in South Africa and has been held up. Neither friend will pass comment on the other's lateness. It's accepted that this happens, that any inconvenience caused by one's career is beyond reproach. Besides, Ellie has never quite understood what it is that Nikki does. Will it be hot out there? She adjusts her towel on the hot bench of the sauna as Nikki wipes her eyes. I think so. Not sure how much time I'll get to enjoy it, though. New boss is a workaholic. I was hoping to take a week's holiday afterward, but she says she can't spare me. What's she like? Oh, she's all right. Not knitting herself a pair of testicles or anything. But she really does put in the hours. I can't see why the rest of us shouldn't do the same. It really does say that. I wonder if that's like a unique British phrase. Sorry, guys. And knitting herself a pair of testicles. Like, that's... What an interesting phrase. I don't know anyone who gets a proper lunch break now. Apart from you hacks, I thought it was all boozy lunches with contacts. Ha! Not with my boss on my tail. She tells the story of her morning meeting, and Nikki's eyes screw up in sympathy. You want to be careful, she says. She sounds like she's got you in her sights. Is this feature coming okay? Will that get her off your back? I don't know if it'll come to anything, and I feel weird about using some of this stuff. She rubs her foot. The letters are lovely and really intense. If someone had written me a letter like that, I wouldn't want it to be put into the public domain. She hears Rory's voice as she says this, and discovers she's no longer sure what she thinks. She'd been unprepared for how much he disliked the idea of the letters being published. She's used to the idea that everyone on the nation shares a mindset, the paper first, old school. I'd want to blow it up and put it on a billboard. I don't know anyone who gets love letters anymore, Nikki says. My sister did when her fiancé moved to Hong Kong back in the 90s. At least 2 a week, she snorts. Mind you, most of them were about how much he missed her bum. They break off from laughing as another woman enters the sauna. They exchange polite smiles, and the woman takes a place on the highest shelf, carefully spreading her towel beneath her. Ellie smooths her hair off her face. I've been thinking about what you said on my birthday. She lowers her voice. About John's wife. Ah. Look, I know you're right, Nikki. But it's not like I know her. She's not like a real person. So why should I care what happens to her? Interesting logic. Okay. She has one thing I really, really want. The one thing that would make me happy. And she can't be that much in love with him, can she? And pay so little attention to what he needs and wants. I mean, if they were that happy, he wouldn't be with me, would he? Nikki shakes her head. I don't know. When my sister had her kid, she couldn't see straight for 6 months. Her youngest is almost 2, she feels rather than hears Nikki's shrug of derision. You know, Ellie, Nikki says, lying back on the bench and putting her hands behind her head. Morally, I wouldn't care either way, but you don't seem happy. That defensive clench. I am happy. Nikki raises an eyebrow. Okay. I'm happier and unhappier than I've ever been with anyone else, if that makes sense. Unlike her 2 best friends, Ellie has never lived with a man. Until she was 30, she had assigned marriage and children. It was always one word, to the folder of things she would do later in life. long after she had established a career, along with drinking sensibly and taking out a pension. She didn't want to end up like some girls from her school, exhausted and pushing prams in their mid-20s, financially dependent on husbands they seemed to despise. Her last boyfriend had complained that he had spent most of their relationship following her while she ran from place to place, barking into a mobile phone. He had been even more pissed off that she'd found this funny, but since she turned 30, it had become a little less amusing. When she visited her parents in Derbyshire, they made conspicuous efforts not to mention boyfriends, so much that it had become just another form of pressure. She is good at being on her own, she tells them and other people, and it was the truth, till she met John. Is he married, love? The woman asked through the steam. Ellie and Nikki exchange a subtle glance. Yes, Ellie says. If it makes you feel any better, I fell in love with a married man, and we've been married 4 years next Tuesday. Congratulations, they say in tandem, Ellie conscious that it seems an odd word to use in the circumstances. Happy as anything we are. Of course his daughter won't talk to him anymore, but it's fine, we're happy. How long did it take him to leave his wife? Ellie asks, sitting up. The woman is pushing her hair into a ponytail. She has no boobs, Ellie thinks, and he still left his wife for her. 12 years, she says. It meant we couldn't have children, but like I said, it was worth it. We're very happy. I'm glad for you, says Ellie as the woman climbs down. The glass door opens, letting in a burp of cold air as she leaves, and then it's the two of them, sitting in the hot, darkened cabin. There's a short silence. 12 years, says Nikki, rubbing her face with her towel. 12 years, an alienated daughter, and no kids. Well, I bet that makes you feel loads better. 2 days later, the phone rings. It's 9:15, and she's at her desk, standing up to answer it so that her boss can see she's there and working. What time does Melissa come to work? She seems to be first in and last out in features, yet her hair and makeup are always immaculate, her outfits carefully coordinated. Ellie suspects there's probably a personal trainer at 6 a.m., a blow-dry at some exclusive salon an hour afterward. Does Melissa have a home life? Someone once mentioned a young daughter, but Ellie finds that hard to believe. Features, she says, staring absently into the glass office. Melissa is on the phone, walking up and down, one hand stroking her hair. Do I have the right number for Ellie Hayworth? A cut glass voice, a relic from a previous age. Yep, this is she. Ah. I believe you sent me a letter. My name is Jennifer Sterling. Oh my god! Wow. I wonder what's gonna happen next. Oh my gosh, you guys. Jennifer done reached out to her, meaning she's still alive. She's probably like in her 60s or so, maybe 70s. I can't believe she's still alive. Me neither. I'm also surprised. Dang. That lady in the sauna being like, hey, if you just give it 12 years, you too can look like me. Ka-chow. That's crazy. And also, like, she should be hurt. Like, they just had this great intimate evening and now it's, oh, sorry, gotta go away. I don't know. Have I ever handwritten letters or love letters? Yes. Back when I went to boot camp when I was in the military, I used to write letters all the time. When you have free time, that's what you did. My mom would write me a letter every day because she was worried that I wouldn't have anything during mail call, so she constantly wrote to me. And at the time I had a boyfriend, so I would, write love letters and receive them. But before that, I also had a long distance boyfriend, and around his birthday or Valentine's Day, we would write each other letters. And yep, when we had our nasty breakup, we put them in a box in hopes that we might reconcile. And then I moved away. This was that guy that I, moved to. And then I moved away because he ended up being, not good. And I wonder if he kept that box. Or if he threw it out. If he still has all our dang letters. But yes, I love a good handwritten letter. I wish we brought it back, you know? I just think it's nice. It's nice to get stuff like that. I still give people cards on their birthdays. You merge letterboxes. No, he just put, well, I mean, he just kept all of them. It was like a time capsule of our relationship, if you will. I didn't want to take them with me, so I was like, you can keep them. And then we put like our little matching promise rings in there, matching necklaces, all that good jazz. What was I gonna say? I still give people like birthday cards, and I always write like a little message in them. So I love writing and stuff like that. So, yep, fun fact for you. All right, let's get this stream wrapped up, shall we? What do we think of the book so far? Are you guys interested? Are you hooked? I didn't know letters were still a thing in Boot. I would have thought you had email access. No, no computers of any kind. And get this. Well, they usually make you use a payphone. You don't get your cell phone either. I mean, there were a couple times where we would get like a... Actually, no, that's a lie. I did get my cell phone to make a phone call like a few times. But mostly they have you use payphones. Like, if they haven't like released your cell phone back to you. So that is the tea. Let's see. Let's fix this. I'm out of paper. I mean, I hate Ellie, but I'm invested in her life at this point. I want to know how. I want to know what it's like for Jennifer and this dude. And we won't know until next Sunday. I promise. I'm gonna do my best not to read this. And don't spoil it for me if you end up peeking, but I'm not going to read it. I'm going to leave it here on my desk, and I'm not going to touch it. All good things must come to an end, and unfortunately this stream is not immune to it. Since I'm going to make these reading streams a thing on Sundays, I will be reading, and I'm going to make sure I take this VOD and make a new playlist on my YouTube channel for reading, specifically, in case you yourself want to go back and revisit the stream. Let's think. You missed me already. You're so funny. If you're sad about me leaving, don't be. I'll be back here tomorrow, where I will be collabing with my lovely, lovely friends. Oh my goodness. I will be collabing with my lovely friends, and we're gonna try to hopefully aim for Baldur's Gate 3, but you guys will know if that's what we're doing, so... I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and for being such a good sport. I can't wait to see you guys. Thank you, Yerp. Yerp just set a reminder for me. I can't wait to see you guys again tomorrow night. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night and wonderful rest of your week if I don't see you again, but I sure hope I do, and thank you again for being so open to me reading. Sleep well, Tostada. You guys too. Have a good night. Bye, y'all.